Well, hello members. I want to do a quick update here on our cradle to grave trades. We took on BABA, as you know, this week. We got it in a nice spot, and I want to show you. We picked it up right back here. It was on August 8th, and then we are able to add here on this breakout. Now we didn't get quite as much as we want. We got to get a good hefty, position, but not quite as much. And then that next day, the after earnings. So this is the earnings pop here, and then we get the add, and then we get the day after, and the day after just takes off, right? Volume expands. When you're looking at this, this is a very clear indication about what's happening. And what's happening is that you've got large, very large institutions now that have decided they have to be in this stock. And so they bought this breakout, and they added that first thing in the morning. Within the first 4 minutes, this thing was up $3. And after that, it just climbed the rest of the day. We're up at 98. Now let's talk about what we're going to do with this trade and how we're going to try and trade it. All right, so that's the daily. Let's go to the weekly. Well, actually, before we do that, I wanted to show you the bullish percents. This stock has been down since they went public, right? So they go public, they pop up, and then they fall back. It's only 35% here short term, and if you look at it on the intermediate term, it's just turned, right? And if you look at it here on the long term, it hasn't even got a trend change yet. So this thing has the ability to go up a long time. That's the first thing. Now let's go to the weekly. On the weekly, you got the breakout, and you got it across all time frames. And this is what I was talking about when I did the first video, right? I was talking about the fact that we were going to have this setup where we would be able to get multiple time frame breakouts. And if we get those time frame breakouts right across all of these time frames, which is exactly what ended up happening, you broke all of these on this swoop. Volume expands, right? There's nothing that you can look at this chart and say that's bad. Matter of fact, the odds of this coming back now within 6 bars, to me, look pretty lean. I don't think that's going to happen. So you get the multiple frame, time frame breakout. You can measure this in a number of ways, right? If you're trying to do your projections, you can take your ABCD structures and measure them. So you've got an A to B here, back to there, and then up, right? And that's the first leg, right? And if we do that number and just do it ballpark it, 59 and a quarter, 81. So that's 22, I guess, roughly. So 22 onto this gets you up to about 95, which is where we just eclipsed. And that 95 number is a pretty good number too, because we're going to look at that as a result as well. But you have the ABCD structure, so if we draw this in right, this thing's already finished off this first ABCD. And my guess is what's going to happen now is you're going to get another leg set up here somewhere, right, to take it even higher. Now, whether it comes from here or it comes up a little bit higher and then comes back down, but we'll get some sort of a pullback somewhere. But I don't think it'd be deep enough to get back into here is what I was just saying. Because those institutions, whoever it is that's decided to pour the money into it, it's going to take them a while to get a full position. They're going to have to continue to put money into this thing. And if you remember when this thing went IPO, it was one of the largest IPOs we'd seen. And so there's a lot of shares out there to be bought and to be sold. And so that's on the weekly. Let's go to the monthly now. This is where it gets even more interesting. Now, on the monthly, it also, if you did ABCD structures, as a matter of fact, let me back up one more time. I want to show you one more thing while we're here on this weekly chart. On the weekly chart, another way to measure this, and which I think is probably the way you want to measure this, is you got a range, right? That range was from here to here. Double that range. Take the bottom, which is 58 roughly. Take the top, which is roughly 87. Do the subtraction, right? You've got about 29 that you can add onto this. 29 onto that is going to get you up around 116 or so. And so I think that's the one you want to use in terms of your projections. Now go to the monthly. If you do it here, it's the same thing, right? The 57 number. You really have about 30 points here. I mean, it's easier to see it here. So if you just take the very bottom, take it right into there. It's about 30 points. Add 30 to it. That's 117. Where's 117? It's the top. 120 is the top. So my suggestion here is that this thing's going to run, and that's where all the volume was on that first big push on the IPO. First 3 months, this is all you could do. You had to buy this thing. And then it started this downtrend, right? You got the spike up, the retest, and now the push. So that number is what we got here, 120 on the button. That's where it's going. And it probably is going to just make its run straight up there without almost any pullback. And so any kind of retrace we get, we just have to put the rest of the money in that we want to allocate. And it's too bad we didn't get it all in, but you know, that's the way it works. You don't always get everything you want. You don't always get, you know, exactly the setup you want. You don't always get the allocations that you want. You just keep working at them, and that's what you have to keep doing with this stock. Even if it's just going to here, which I suspect is eventually going to go even higher, but if it's just going to there, you still got another 20 bucks on this thing, right? 20 bucks on 100's, you know, a good percentage. So don't sell. Don't get anxious. It's going to get a retrace probably as it comes into this. This is 99.05. It came into 98.35 yesterday. So you're probably going to get some pressure on this little area here. And then after that, right, it's probably going to make its run up to that area. So we just look for something like that to give us an opportunity to get more money on the table. Let's go to the other two stocks real quick. Equifax is the next one. Equifax is a longer-term position. Now, what I didn't like about Equifax and still don't is when I look at this chart, you know, we came off with volume. And I don't like to see charts where you come off with volume. So you have volume escalation, right? If you just look across here, where's the last time you had volume? Well, you had volume coming into this thing back here. So this volume escalation on this particular bar, right here in the next bar, those two bars, right, that overlap is going to be a problem on the way back up. And so if you take and do the overlap and just look at where it is, look at how it popped up here into that area and just couldn't go any farther, right? Immediately sold it back down. That's distribution. Someone has decided, who has a large position for whatever reason, has decided, and it may not be one institution, it could be multiples, but they've decided that that's a place that they want to sell it. And so when we look at Equifax, right, you know, long term, it's still a great stock. Short term, this thing's going to have problems. 134.41 was at top, 134.61 here, 135.44. So somewhere in this area is a place to take a larger portion of this position off. And we want to reallocate it to places that give us better opportunities. Long term is still fine, right? But look at the volumes coming off that top. I don't like that. And if we go to very long term, this is just one of those areas where it's made its run. It's probably going to get that pause now. And so do I abandon this? No. Do I cut the size down some? Yeah. Take some money off. Take your profits and wait for a larger retrace again. Finally, let's go to gold. Now, gold, same thing. I've been in gold. Well, we bought gold back on this breakout sometime back. And so if I go to the weekly, you know, gold showed us the strength right here on this big breakout on the weekly. That was in this area, right? And we got long as a result of that. And we've been long for a very long time. And so here we are in August. I'd have to go back and look exactly, but I know we bought back in here somewhere. We've played this range. Remember, we got the spike. If you go back and even look at the tapes, they're still all out there. You know, I talked about this spike up being one of those cases that would set up a range trade. They tried to trade over the range a few times. They were unable. We were able to sell into the spike. We were able to buy back on these dips. We were able to keep selling and buying back. And then we got the nice breakout here from this range, right? We got this nice breakout and extension. And what does it do? Well, it takes and puts about the same distance, right? It's a range distance. If we do it, let's draw it in together. So if you take these bottoms and do that, right, and then you do it again, that range is something like this. So it hasn't quite, made it to the top, and maybe it's going to get up there, but I suspect what's happening is we're getting set up for a deeper retrace. We've got good volume, nothing wrong with this long term, so it's not something you want to trade out of, but it is something that you can trade around, because now you're getting into, 125, let's say you can get to 135, you're getting into a big enough range that you can trade the range. And so the ideal here is that the first trip back again into all of this strength, which started right in these bars, right? That's the place that you want to be buying. This thing can come as deep without any kind of problem. It can come as deep as it into this bar, which would only be the retest region of this bar back here, right? So it can certainly come into the top of the swing point high. Let me clean this up as we talk. It can certainly come into the top of the swing point high, right, which is this bar. That's the retest regen area. And if it were to get back into there, right, on this push up, it would be a great place to make a purchase. So I don't want to dismiss, gold and say I'm not going to get in it, but when I see these types of bars, when I see a bearish engulfing, that tells me this thing's going to try to come back in. It's sitting on the top of this, and I'm on the daily. It's sitting on the top of this bar. I expect it's going to make it into the bottom of that bar. More than likely, that's about 125. And if I go pull up this chart again, this price point is 122. That big bar there is about 124. So 124 to 125 is where I expect this thing to try and trade back to. Finally, if we look at the monthly, if we go to the long term, on the monthly chart, we have a good breakout taking place here. A retrace back to retest this could send you to the bottom. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but this thing would still, my point is this would still be bullish on a full retest regen all the way back to here. You'd still have to be bullish gold. Now, if it went back to there, I don't think anybody would be talking about gold being bullish. That low is 112. More than likely, it's going to find support on these two bars right here. So this is the area that's at risk. I mean, it easily can test back into these lows. That's 115, and the top of this one is 120.84. Now, if gold even goes down that far, I'm sure the world is not going to be bullish again. But that can trade there, and so you have to realize that that's a risk. And don't get too excited and too extended up here in terms of your positions, or start buying again too quickly in quantity, not selling, right? Trading around your core position. And then you end up wiping out, right? And not being there for the bigger trade that's still probably to come. That bigger trade is to trade it all the way back up to here. I suspect it's going to get up here before it's over with. You don't want to give it up. You want to stay with this trade and eventually get that big move back into this bar. This is the bar that it's going to try to come after eventually. Okay? That is gold. That's Equifax, and that's our new one, BABA. I'll see you next time.